In a small village nestled between rolling hills and silver rivers, there lived a young, beautiful, gorgeous, and kind woman. Her name was Amina. Apart from being both beautiful and gorgeous, she was young and filled with so much youth. She was also kind, and everybody in the village knew her. She helped the elderly and was nice to them. She helped the sick by helping them get home safely, and other friendly acts. She was always a very joyful person for her youth, and in the afternoon she always swang. She was known for her very beautiful smile, and her laughter which could brighten the darkest of days. She was trained by her mother Sefu, a beautiful, captivating, and strong-willed woman, who still caught attention from men long after losing her youth. She always believed in the mother and daughter bond, which she shared with her mother. It was this which makes them most popular in the village. Sometimes Sefu would sit Amina down and advise her. She will sometimes tell stories to illustrate, or she would use various life aspects and experiences to explain matters to her. Amina always knew how her mother struggled to train her, and knew how her mother tried tirelessly to put food on their table. Sefu never remarried, claiming no man was fit to enter Amina's life as a father. Eventually Amina started falling for a man whose name was Jahi, and Jahi was always admiring her from a distance. He was a tall, dark man with beautiful brown eyes. He had a great body physique which was very attractive. He was a professional blacksmith who was skilled at his job. The way he forged metals together was a good representation of the art of metals. Soon they started talking and they got along pretty well. After some months of dating, these two were inseparable. They were like magnets with a really strong force holding them. Soon after that, they always walked together down the streets, holding their hands like an official couple. Sometime later, Sefu noticed and restricted Amina's movement. When that happened, she always got grumpy. Some time later passed and Amina asked Jahi, "Do you want to meet my mother?" But Jahi's expression suddenly just changed after that question. Jahi then replied, "It's only been 6 months. Don't you want us to come a lot closer before meeting your mom?" But Amina said, "I just suggested." One graceful day they walked down on the street as usual, and Jahi boldly said, "I think this is the time." Amina replied, "This is the time for what?" in surprise. And he said, "I think it's time for me to meet your mother." Two of them expressed a face of excitement. Then Amina started rushing home. Amina introduced him, saying his name was Jahi. Jahi, as a humble, trained man, knelt down to greet her. Sefu welcomed him with open arms and her eyes lurking around his body in a way Amina did not notice. Then she quickly grasped herself and said, "My son-in-law." After that, Sefu laughed at his funny jokes, which made her feel like a youth again. She cooked him appetizing meals with a very nice aroma, which filled the air in the house, and she soon started dressing in a way that really brought out her body shape. After a few months, Amina was caught up in her marriage preparations. She didn't pay any attention to any small warnings around her. She just came back home from an elder's house, seeking advice on the marriage preparations.
On what should be added or removed.
She came back home only to be scolded by Jahi. He asked her various questions such as, "Why did you come late?" And she said she visited an elder. From then on, life hadn't been the same. She was on her own. When she was grooming the flowers, Jahi suddenly came, shouting, "Where is my food?" Though she saw how Jahi shouted at her aggressively, she politely replied, "I kept it in the pot so it wouldn't get too cold." He scolded her again, saying, "Do you expect me to dish by myself?" And he said as she went to dish the food, "You troublesome woman, I will get you." As she dishes the food, he ate it with a very big smile on his face. After that, he later called her to keep the plate. And to Amina's surprise, Jahi pulled her by the arm, and Jahi took her to a lonely-looking room. And in the room, Amina started sobbing and crying. One time when the sun was about to set, another part was one of Jahi's rage. Amina quietly went out of his sight to sit on a distant bench. While she was sitting, she had a sad look on her beautiful face. She started to think negatively about Jahi and questioning herself. Was dating Jahi a bad idea? Is Jahi really a very aggressive and angry person? Or did I ever do something wrong? All of these questions and more crossed Amina's mind as she sat. Amina finally had the courage to apologize if she did something wrong. Amina went home and she started having second thoughts. What if he slaps me? What if he resorts to domestic violence? What if? So she sat down and thought through it thoroughly, and that's when she started to hear familiar mumbling voices. She went up to check what it was, but what she saw, it really left her shocked, speechless, that it made her face look uncomfortable. She had a traumatized look on her face, and her delicate face looked like she had seen the horrors of the world. To her great surprise, she saw her mother in Jahi's embrace. It looked like a weed befriending a plant, like two veins intertwined with each other. And when she opened the door, she saw her mother. Instead of Sefu to feel shocked, her face brightened more. She had a face of complete satisfaction. As soon as Jahi noticed, he was completely shocked. He had a feeling of guilt and he felt confused. Jahi wanted to explain what was happening. In his mind, he thought he could deceive her considering her behavior. But he was shocked as Amina shunned him up. Amina didn't talk too much or say anything, but she simply just left. As for Sefu and Jahi, their happiness didn't last long. As for Jahi, a man who could betray a woman, could betray anybody. While Sefu was abandoned by people like she abandoned her daughter's love. While Jahi went in search of Amina, but it all led to a dead end. Soon after, word about Sefu started spreading like wildfire. People gathered and started saying it as a story tale, especially with the help of gossipers in the small but populated village. Soon enough, people started thinking what had happened to Amina. Did she die of shock? Did she run away? What had happened to her? People soon started questioning themselves like it was a serious case, asking more and more questions continuously. And for the location of Amina, it became history. Don't forget to subscribe to Folktales by Gracious for more interesting stories.